do you guys fear, and do you think, will this discrimination continue to grow? I mean, we see it in Florida with people and all this buzz. Like, people can use love as love, but the bottom line is people are being targeted.
Right.
Unpack that, either one of you.
I really hope it doesn't grow and start to come up north to the United States, but I feel like people are combating the hate with love. So they're coming out in community events to combat it, but it really is terrible to see a lot of people buckling and canceling events because they're scared, and they're just scared because people are fighting against who they are. And it's nothing outrageous. It's like story times and get-togethers at brunches and stuff that people are upset about, and it really kind of hurts my soul that people are scared to be who they are.
Hey friends. It's the Ryan Leckey Show. Welcome to the Ryan Leckey Show. Get my dance on again. Look, I am super jacked up for today's edition of the Ryan Leckey Show. Multiple reasons. First, it is June, and I'm just going to tell you right now, we're going to gay it up on this episode of the Ryan Leckey Show. We going real gay because June is Pride Month, and I'm so excited to celebrate it and kick it off, as I said, for multiple reasons. We have two people on the couch this time for the interview. This is big. Are you guys excited?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so I have David Pierson, who's a member of the Rainbow Alliance, a great nonprofit organization. We're going to talk about helping a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community in Pennsylvania and beyond, as well as Dr. Jennifer
McClinton-Temple.
All right, so people are like, what kind of doctor is she? Where do you work?
I work at King's College. I am a doctor of English literature. I have a PhD in English literature.
I love that. So in this podcast, I should never say like, I ain't got no. You're going to like backhand me.
Well, that's what they always say about us.
Yeah. All right. We're going to dive right into it. You know, now that it's Pride Month, right? And we see a lot of stuff on social media, and sometimes people start putting the memes together and be like, oh, here comes the corporations, rainbow washing everything, right? Trying to capitalize off the gay community. Pride Month is here, but we wanted to pull back the curtain on the why, the resources, the help that's out there. And really right now across the nation and here at home, I mean, things are kind of really rocky and rough, you know, with a number of members of the LGBTQ plus community. So we're going to talk about that and then some. But first, let's dive into, maybe David, you want to lead this up. The Rainbow Alliance, this nonprofit dedicated to what?
Yes. So the Rainbow Alliance, our three pillars are education, advocacy, and support. And just to briefly go over that, education, we have resources on our website for people that may have just come out or family members of people that have just come out that don't know how to handle it or how to address the situation. Everything is listed on our website at rainbowalliance.org. Support. We like to hold events for the community in the Northeast Pennsylvania region. Recently, we just started doing a monthly dinner, and then every other month it alternates with a monthly happy hour. So it brings the community together. A different restaurant and bar is showcased each month. So it also...
But it's really bringing people, you said it, people together.
Brings people together. Different generations come out, so it's really cool to talk to, for example, I met two of the founding members of the Rainbow Alliance at the last one. The Rainbow Alliance was founded in 2004, so it was really cool to get a little bit of history on the organization from them firsthand. And then advocacy, we are just putting a voice to the people that may not have a voice or don't want to come out yet, and just letting them know we're here for you and we're fighting for you.
And of course, you peppered in events, and later this month in June, you have Pride Fest in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. We're going to tackle that, but I think first, let's unpack Pride. Why Pride? So Dr. Jen, give us the background. I mean, when you think about Pride Month, people might be like, why do we need this month? Why do we do it?
So first of all, the reason why Pride Month is in June and what it is commemorating, you know, it's not that long ago in this country that the police would actually raid gay bars and lesbian bars to disperse people from congregating simply because of their identity. It really is bizarre to think about, that it wasn't that long ago. And in 1970, one night at the Stonewall Inn in Manhattan, they decided to fight back. They decided to stand up for themselves and to resist being dispersed and arrested just for being who they were. It's astonishing, right? That in this country, we put people in jail for being themselves. And so Stonewall, it really does mark like the beginning of the organized push for gay rights in this country. And that's why Pride Month occurs in June. Why is Pride Month still important? It's still important because there are so many people who still face exclusion and being cut off from families and being pushed away from churches and from the things that were dear to them just because they're want to be open about who they are and want to live their authentic lives. That's still happening to lots and lots of people in this country. And Pride Month is an occasion for all of us, LGBTQ community members and allies
like
to
you,
come
yes,
together and say, love is love. And it doesn't matter who you love, who you're attracted to, who you're married to. We're all human beings, and we need to be kind to each other, and we need to be welcoming. We need to embrace each other. And Pride Month reminds us of that every year, no matter who we are.
And I think I want to rip the Band-Aid off, because much as people, especially when Pride Month start, right? And then people, sometimes I call it performative allyship, right? Where some people who you never hear from come out and be like, yeah, it's Pride Month and I support the LGBTQ plus community. You're like, where are you the rest of the months of the year, right? I think, and really not to get too political here, but I think we have to rip the Band-Aid off. As much as people and allies want to post love is love, there's a lot of seriously political unrest. And the LGBTQ plus community is being targeted, right? For so many things. So I guess to say, you know, how does the LGBTQ plus community successfully counter the attempts by some states in the US and governors to limit the rights of LGBTQ plus people? I had to write this down because this was an important thing I did not want to miss. Our team was collaborating on this, and I'm like, we have to address it, because do you guys fear, and do you think, will this discrimination continue to grow? I mean, we see it in Florida with people and all this buzz. Like, people can use love as love, but the bottom line is people are being targeted. Right. Unpack that, either one of you.
I really hope it doesn't grow and start to come up north to the United States, but it just I feel like people are combating the hate with love. So they're coming out in community events to combat it, but it really is terrible to see a lot of people buckling and canceling events because they're scared, and they're just scared because people are fighting against who they are. And it's nothing outrageous. It's like story times and get-togethers at brunches and stuff that people are upset about. And it really kind of hurts my soul that people are scared to be who they are.
You want to chime in on that?
Well, I mean, I agree with that as well. You asked, like, what can we do? Right? How can
it's
we?
So rocky right now. Yeah.
And it is really rocky. And this is one of the places where I think that the allies have a responsibility to stand up and use the privilege that we have to support our fellow people, the people that we care about. I'll give you I'll give you one really good example. I'm a native of Arkansas. So I'm from one of the, David said he hopes it doesn't come up here. I do too, but it's already there in my home state.
Yeah.
And in particular, the school board of my hometown has been sort of infiltrated by people who want to target LGBTQ books, trans students using the bathrooms that align with their gender. it's been really terrible for the last 2 years. And this year, the other people in the town sort of rose up and found 2 people to run for the 2 positions that were open. And I was thrilled to see from afar that they won. And now they're going to be able to tip that school board back to the balance of people who care about the students. That's the key, and that's what they ran on. We're here to educate all students. It was that inclusive message. We're here for all students. We're not here just for some students. Right. So I would say that the thing that's in our power to do is to vote. And to vote for people who will not support these targeting, exclusionary, destructive policies. That's the thing that we can do.
We talked about those issues around the country, right? Like you mentioned, Arkansas, right, where you were from. Florida, lots of buzz around Florida going on. But let's dial back to northeastern Pennsylvania, where we are, where this podcast is. How do you think the gay community is treated here, and how have we evolved? Are we better than where we were a couple of years ago, or are we taking a step back?
I would say it's kind of like a don't ask, don't tell type of thing for the most part, of people who are indifferent, who like don't support it and aren't or are supporters. Like, it's just like we exist. There's no real, at least in my personal encounters, I'm sure it's out there, but I've never encountered any like physical thing against the community. But I'm absolutely sure it's out there. I would say it's not as bad as it is in the South. And just circling back to that, I did say I hope it doesn't come up north, but we also, as a region, have to keep in mind the people that are going through this in the South, and just kind of keep them in mind and kind of find ways to help them or look at possible answers for them. But Jennifer, did you want to say anything?
Well, I mean, obviously I can't speak from your lived experience because I don't have that. I've lived here. I've lived in northeastern Pennsylvania for 22 years. And in that time, I have seen change in that I have seen LGBTQ identities being lived in the open as becoming more and more of a mainstream thing. And last year, I know we're going to talk about Pride in particular, but last year when we had Pride Fest, seeing hundreds of people marching in downtown Wilkes-Barre and then on Public Square in support of LGBTQ identities, waving those rainbow flags, and seeing the young people that were there with their families was really eye-opening in a good way, in a really good way. That has changed in the time that I've lived here, that it's become more mainstream. This is going to sound terrible. It's become more mainstream to not be awful. Right? To be accepting and loving is becoming more of a thing that people want to move toward. And that's a good thing.
You know, something I hear from so many people I know, right, who are allies in the LGBTQ plus community, that their fear is for the kids who are struggling, want to come out, and they don't have the supportive families or the parents, right? And I mean, we talk about suicide rates up among those in the gay community, like when they're struggling to come out and they have nowhere to turn. So has anything evolved there? Like what are the resources that help, or the tips you guys share as board members with the Rainbow Alliance and really entrenched with a lot of these organizations aimed at helping people in the community for these kids? Like, I was blessed, like a number of people, like, you know, I could tell my mama I came out and she was very supportive. Not everybody in my family got it, I get that, but the key players did, which mattered. How do we help those who don't have the key players?
So I go first?
Sure.
So I want to go first just because just literally this morning I had a conversation about this issue on a new resource that we're developing with the Rainbow Alliance. But first I want to say our website, the Rainbow Alliance's website, has a wealth of resources regarding a lot of the topics that David mentioned: coming out, getting support, finding healthcare professionals legal professionals, clergy, people in those fields who we know they're vetted. We know that they're LGBTQ friendly. We have those resource guides on our website. So that's a resource that is available for the kinds of young people that you're talking about. One thing that we're developing right now, we're starting with a book club. We're starting small. I spent about an hour this morning on a Zoom call with a director of a local library. I don't want to say which one it is, just because she needs to talk to her board. I need to talk to my committee. But I'm certain that this will move forward. And we're going to be starting an LGBTQ young adult book club. It's going to meet probably about 6 times a year, so every other month. That's going to be this safe space for students to feel that support, for young people to be supported outside of their little bubble that they might be in. And one of the things that struck me was that this director, who is actually a former student of mine at King's College, this is the place she came from. She said, it's our job as human beings to support these young people, to provide this safe space for us. And I said to her, do you have any concerns about people who would target this? And she said, well, sure, but it's way more important to support. It's worth it. It's worth it to risk that. It's worth it to risk that kind of bad press or whatever it is, because the thing that we're doing is so important.
And I think anything new like that, like a book club, the meet and greets, right, might shock a little people, probably like Wilkes-Barre Pride Fest did when it started years ago. Yes. How do you think that has grown, and how, since it launched, has maybe acceptance evolved? Because you mentioned hundreds of people in the parade, right? I remember I was down there in 2022, packed streets, lots of different people from all walks of life coming together. Really, the common thread woven through all of us, it was a celebration of pride, connection, community. How has that kind of evolved? Because when it started, were people like, what are we doing?
Right.
Right.
So
we're having what kind of parade?
Right. When it started years ago, it was held in Kirby Park, and it was just kind of like an afternoon out for people to hang out. And we were kind of expecting something like that, but on Wilkes-Barre Public Square. And it was our first Pride Parade ever in downtown Wilkes-Barre. So it was a big deal. And we thought we would get somewhat of a crowd. And then we lined up at 11, and we started out down South Main Street in Wilkes-Barre, and as we got closer to the square, we just couldn't believe the crowds that came out, and just people in full force, and it was really, really moving to see. And as soon as we got to the square, there was even more people, and it was just so overwhelming, and it was just a day filled with love and support and just togetherness,
just positivity. Like it was really, really incredible.
Don't miss a Pride event. That's what I say.
Right.
Whether it's here or otherwise, you want to have a good time. And I have family friends who have kids, and they're like, my kids had a blast, right? And you know what's amazing? I feel there's such, gosh, I want to say like a disconnect, like don't teach kids this, don't teach kids that, right? But you know what's amazing? Like even when I was living out Proud, and you know, it was, I believe it was my hairstylist, right? And I'm meeting your kids, and they're like, well, who's that guy you're with? And then she simply is like, oh, that's his boyfriend. All right. Hey, do you guys want to get some, like, hate is taught.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Like, I'm amazed for the parents who are leading by example, right? And their kids pick up love, acceptance. Like, the kids are cool with it. Like my niece is growing up young, and oh yeah, Uncle Ryan and Uncle Matt, they grew up with it. It was like normal,
right?
And they know they're gonna come to our house. We're gonna have a great time, right? We're going out. We're gonna buy you clothes. We got great music, right? And it's just amazing how hate is taught to kids. And I think when you pull away the literature and the research, and you hear even people thinking about pulling certain history books out of classes, because like it blows your mind, right? And that's what I think I love about college. Speaking of you being a college professor, where all this information could be on the table, but you want people to kind of digest it at their pace and not kind of shove stuff down their throat. But I think it's just, I don't know. My point is, though, coming back to it, is just that, you know, hate is just such like it's a taught thing.
Absolutely.
I agree.
You know, Are you familiar with South Pacific, the musical?
Oh, yeah. I don't remember it vividly.
Well, there's a song in South Pacific called You've Got to Be Carefully Taught, and it's about racism. And that's exactly the point of that song. You've got to be carefully taught. That's how you learn hate. And the same thing applies to anti-LGBTQ sentiment. You hate is taught, and so teach love instead.
Yeah.
And that last year at the parade, I mean, we had 650 people in the parade. We had 1,000 people on Public Square.
Yes.
And, you know, I did not march in the parade because, along with my co-parade chair, Anthony Melf, I was in the back because we were in charge of the parade and making sure everybody was lined up. So I was kind of at the tail end. And, you know, as I passed, I saw this person. I don't know the person's gender, so I'm going to say they. They were just openly weeping. And it was so moving because I knew exactly what they were thinking. And then there was an older couple who were from the Valley and had moved away and were they were home for a vacation weekend. I think they were staying on Harvey's Lake. And it was just a coincidence that they were in town. And they kept saying to me, "This is Wilkes-Barre?" Because they grew up here. And they were like, "This is happening in Wilkes-Barre." And it was incredible. And it's only going to be better this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so let's get right to it, right? Because everyone's like probably like, give me the Pride Fest details. So is the official name still Pride Fest?
Pride Fest,
Yes.
yeah.
In Wilkes-Barre. So let's talk about it. It's at the end of June. Give us the whole lay of the land for that last weekend.
Sure.
Dates, the time, the place to be.
Yes. So the night prior to Pride Fest, Saturday, June 24th, they're having a Pride Fest Royale pageant at the Hilton Garden Inn in Scranton. So we wanted to be fair and split the Pride Fest activities throughout the county. So Lackawanna County gets the Pride Fest pageant, and that night, the Pride Fest Royale, one person gets chosen to represent that year, and then they will be in the parade. They will be featured in the parade the following morning. So Sunday, June 25th is our Pride Fest parade. And the theme this year is Lead with Love.
Lead with Love on Sunday, June 25th. Walk me through the day. Where do people go? What can they experience?
Yes. So you could sign up to walk in the parade. There's no charge. You could sign up on our website at neparainbowalliance.org. And if they're not walking in the parade, they could join us. We'll be on Public Square after the parade from noon to 4 p.m. The parade lineup starts at 11 a.m., I believe. And then we get started from there.
And what can people expect in the parade? Because obviously there's so many great parades in and around northeastern Pennsylvania where we tape this. And a lot of great parades around the country, different types of pride parades too. So for this, if I'm on the sidelines, what can I expect? Whether I'm in the community as an LGBTQ plus member, if I'm an ally, if I bring my family.
I mean, I think you can expect a lot of diversity. That's one of the things that I thought about the Wilkes-Barre parade in contrast to some of the bigger parades. There were people of all ages in the parade. There were people we had churches represented, we had community organizations represented, businesses, Wegmans in their rainbow shirts with their rainbow letters, along with a lot of other local businesses, were represented in the parade. And what it showed to me was community support. Look, this is your community. There are, like I said, churches, civic organizations, businesses coming out to say, we support you. We support this community, and we want to make our support obvious and hold it up high. That's what I saw in the parade. There's also fun stuff like roller skaters in
there was bikers in the
unusual
parade.
costume. The Wilkes-Barre Bike Gang, which is not at all scary because it's bicycles.
Okay.
Bicycles.
Okay.
Bicycles.
Got it.
Kiss Theater, it was there. You know, that's a children's theater.
Yep.
We had I don't know what their name was, but they're one of those reenactor groups like medieval.
Oh, okay. Got
So
it.
there was a medieval.
I thought you were going to say like a share reenact or an impersonator.
No.
I would
Although
love that.
that
I was
would
like,
be
I got to
awesome.
reschedule my weekend
That
plans.
would be awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
If there is someone out there that would like to put their name in,
Yeah.
To be
they
sure.
are welcome.
I could do that. Yeah. If I
I'd
could,
love to see
If
it.
I could turn back time. I want the flow. Actually, I want to make it look like, remember Cher in the If I Could Turn Back Time on the
ship with the
aircraft
sailors.
carrier?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We could make a float look like that.
I'm a lot older than you, so I would go with Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves.
Okay,
Also
that's
a good
fine.
show.
We could bust that out. I think what's amazing, though, that's an event. And I think kudos to the city of Wilkes-Barre, right, for getting behind that event. The city of Scranton, the current mayor, Paige Cognetti, super supportive of the LGBTQ plus community because, again, we need leaders and people in place, right,
Yes.
who are going to support folks.
Right.
You know? And I'm just amazed, too. Like, it's just how, you know, I've been with my partner for 8 years and how us being together, living our lives, doesn't affect anybody, right?
Right.
Like it's kind of crazy. Like, and it's just amazing when
Right.
you see the political landscape and what things are happening in certain states, right?
Right.
You know?
It absolutely is. I also wanted to say that the city of Wilkes-Barre has been incredibly supportive as well. They were very supportive of us last year, but they
Yes.
did not expect the number. So they declined to block off the streets. This year they're blocking off the streets because
awesome.
they
Okay.
Coming prepared
saw
for us.
what kind of turnout there was, and how I will say how well behaved we were.
Yes.
At the end, I had gone over a couple of times to. There's a police presence. I think there probably is with any festival. I think
Yeah.
that's just a standard. And at the end of the day, I said, "So how did it go?" And they said it was great. Not a single problem. We did have 6 people faint, but that was
It was hot
because
that
it was
day.
hot.
It was definitely hot.
It was
So
because it was hot.
hydrate at the parade. But I think
Right.
that it's great though. And I think it's a surprise to some, even like the city, right? They thought, oh, do we need to block off all these streets? And that's what we want to see. Like when the gays come out, we want the allies to come out in full force.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And it's just such a fun time. I was
Right.
down there, the music, people in costume. I think it was just such an atmosphere of acceptance, right? And if people want to dress in Renaissance costumes,
Right.
we saw
all
people
good.
last year in certain type of rainbow outfits, etc. It just works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like
It was great.
It was just, I've never, and I have to say, I have such mad respect for the Rainbow Alliance. I remember back in the day, I think before they rebranded, right? When they first surfaced, I think you said in 2004, right? I was in this market, and at that time, in say 05, 06, 07, you didn't really see a lot of news stories on like gay groups and
No.
gay organizations. I'm going to be honest, as somebody at that time who was in the closet, I was like, I can't cover this because people are going to think I'm gay too. And then
Right.
the minute I found myself, right, with work and therapy and coming out, which everybody has to come to terms on their own terms, it was sort of like, yay, gay. And how could I use my public platform at that time, right? Whether it was a career in television or social media now, how can I help support and help level up and take the conversation even further? And it just feels so great. And I think the other thing is too, we joke about this, like allies, right? If you want to be an ally, it doesn't, I think there's a misconception too. People think, oh, if I'm an ally, the gays are going to hit on me.
No.
How do you handle that? Because I'm going to tell you, like initially when I came out and some of my gym friends were like, oh, I'm like, don't worry, you can't catch it. You can't catch gay. Don't worry. What's your message to allies when they hear that? Because come on, it is a stereotype. I feel like sometimes I joke and say the straights, right?
So
They
I'm
think-
going to say that is probably a stereotype that is more prevalent on the male presenting side of the aisle. I don't think that people think that lesbians are going to hit on straight women.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's more of but like I would say that's just not, I don't know, it doesn't really cross my mind. One thing that crosses the mind of some of the people, not me, but some of the people that talk to me about my allyship, they're like, what if the people think you're gay? I'm like, so I don't care.
Yeah.
And I did have a woman at the Cheers Queers. That was an event we had at Tomato Bar in Pittston. And I had been talking to this family for half an hour, and she said, so when did you come out? And I said, oh, no, I'm not gay. And she said, well, then what are you doing here? And then that opened up the door
For the
for
conversation
me
about
to have the
allyship.
conversation of what I'm doing here. I'm here to support this community.
Yeah.
I'm here to support all human beings.
Mm-hmm.
it's the right thing to do.
And I'm smiling because you talk about the stereotype, and I've seen it more on the hetero, the straight male side, right? Where they think like every gay guy wants to date me. Look, if you look like Shrek, girls and gays, they don't want to date you. Right. So pump the brakes. And the other pro tip I always give, I always said, you know, as we move ahead down the road, you never know this could happen. An idea I always had for a show was called Wingman, Why Every Straight Guy Needs a Gay Friend. Because let me tell you, for the single gay guys out there, or I should say for the single straight guys out there who are spitting blood, can't land a date, can't land a girlfriend, find yourself a gay friend because they know all the chicks. And the girls are going to trust the gays on if they should date you. And I have hooked up so many couples, several of them have gotten married.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, that's why
you're welcome.
Queer Eye is so popular, right?
Yeah.
That's why. Exactly.
And I think what's kind of crazy, like sometimes when people see, like, here's what amazes me. You have an amazing artist like Elton John, right? And people will go to hear him because he's such an incredible musician, performer. He's iconic. And there's people there who aren't like allies, et cetera, right? But they go to see him for him being Elton John. Right. I wish that could transcend across the board because you know there's people there at a concert like that who might not be as open as you think. But I wish, and I think it's kudos to people like artists like Elton John and people who are bringing people together for the love of like music, and who cares whether you're straight, bi, however you identify. And I wish that conversation and I wish that vibe would be more, I guess, kind of transparent across the board.
Right. I think that you're totally right. There are probably lots of people listening to Elton John who are the opposite of allies, and not recognizing the disconnect. But I do think that over the last 20 years or so, the entertainment industry has really chipped away with that, with shows like Will and Grace, people like Ellen DeGeneres. These are mainstream people that are funny, they're watchable, they're talented, people love them. And if you don't have anyone that's part of the LGBTQ community that you know personally in your life, well, you might feel like you kind of know Ellen DeGeneres a little bit, right? That she's like a personal connection to you, and that helps to chip away at this idea that we're so different.
Right.
And that it's okay to have that kind of, no, I don't want to be part of that. So I think that's changed a lot.
All right, so before we wrap this up, let's recap for the families, I should say the kids who have nowhere to turn. Maybe they don't have the support system in-house. Where are all the resources? And then also tell me how people can learn about Pride activities in Northeastern Pennsylvania for the month.
Absolutely. So our website is rainbowalliance.org. And for Pride Month, we're having various activities. We're having a flag raising in Wilkes-Barre, a flag raising in Scranton. We're having a night out at the Rail Riders baseball stadium. And then, of course, the Pride Fest pageant in Scranton and the Pride Fest parade in downtown Wilkes-Barre.
And the Pride Fest parade, super important on Sunday. That's like the big, it kind of brings everything together. June 25th.
June 25th.
And if you just want to, if you want to sign up to walk in the parade, it's free. You learn more at rainbowalliance.org. Learn more how to become
and also
an ally.
on our Facebook.
Yes.
You can go to Facebook,
Hit 'em up
Rainbow
on the social.
Alliance, and you can get the information through our Facebook.
All the times. So check it out. Any final things? I think we tackled all of it. You guys were great. And by the way, are you comfortable, or does it feel awkward that we're this close together? I feel like a family. I feel like we're all snuggle.
I like it.
I'm good.
I love this. And I appreciate the work you guys are doing, both, you know, in the community as allies, right? Just doing your thing.
Thank you. And likewise.
All right. And P.S. I love the glasses. For those listening, Dr. Jen's glasses, or she's rocking the red. She's like Sally Jesse Raphael. And if you're like, who's that? Google her. Google her. That shows our age, right? When I'm like Sally Jesse Raphael. All right. Yay, Pride. That's all I got to say. I am so excited. Pride Month is here. Thanks so much for checking out this latest edition of the Ryan Leckey Show. I'll see you next time.